Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, graded stakes action at Parx on Saturday. It's the Parx Dash. We're going 5 furlongs on the weeds. Some pretty salty turf sprinters on display. You can bet this race with a DRF Bets account. As you see on the screen, we've got some risk-free wagering going on. Bets.drf.com is where you go for all of the details. Let's meet the field for the Grade 3 Parx Dash. And we've sort of got the king of Parx in this race, don't we, Mike? I mean, all Pure Sensation does when he comes to Parx is run hard. He's won 5 of 6. He was third in the other time, and that was in last year's Parx Dash. But he's won this race twice before, and something tells me if he wins this again, they may rename the race after him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. He probably deserved it, too. He loves this turf course. He's just a real classy old turf sprinter. He's got a lot of speed, but I think it's, at least worth mentioning that he doesn't necessarily need the lead to win. He can win from just off it, too. He's just easy to like from a lot of different angles, Dan. Paired up 98s on the way in. Guess he's the horse to beat again.
He's going to be facing a familiar rival. That's the number 2 Completed Pass, who has just really gotten good for trainer Claudio Gonzalez. Listen, this horse has switched to the turf, and he's picked off right where he left off on the dirt. A win against Stakes Company, a couple of seconds. And last time out, he was on a hard chase against Pure Sensation, and he refused to quit. He was getting to that rival at the end of the race. I expect a similar trip here.
I know, I agree. I thought he acquitted himself well last time because it did, in some ways, feel like his first real big test, sprinting on the grass. I thought he passed it. He was very game in there. He's just one of those horses. He doesn't change leads in the stretch. It's a little bit concerning, but boy, he just shows up and runs every time. And he's probably going to be on the chase again in here, and he's a horse who could easily win this race.
Now, those two horses are very fast. Timeform US believes there might be one even quicker, as we see from this pace projector. There's a red bar, and in Timeform parlance, that means that we're expecting a fast pace. Not a surprise in a 5 furlong turf sprint of this quality. Rocket Heat is an old class master, and trainer Michael Tenuzzo doesn't have many horses, but he does a very good job with the horses he has. And Rocket Heat, I thought last time out in the Monmouth, in that Get Serious Stakes, off a long layoff, got a really excellent tightener. If you don't like the Pennsylvania Governor's Cup, Rocket Heat ran well against a real sharp horse named Wet Your Whistle. Maybe he takes these on a chase at a big price.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens early because it feels like there's so much speed in the race. But you know what? Listen, maybe he's just fastest of them all. He is a really quick horse. They will be trying to make the lead with him. I thought he ran fine last time, contesting it from the outside. I'm not way against him, Dan. I just felt like this race might be tough for him to win because of his running style.
Now, if the pace does fall apart, it could help horses like the number 1 Nice Tune, who was rallying a bit against Pure Sensation and Completed Pass in the Pennsylvania Governor's Cup. He's a horse that doesn't win very often, but he does well at Parx. And listen, he was gaining on those 2 horses at the end. I thought the trip worked out pretty well, and they may not have been going so fast in front of him, but he saved ground. He had his crack in the lane, and it was belated.
This will be a better spot for him because it's, it's not just a 4-horse field. There should be more hitting in front of him. Maybe he's the best closer in the race. It sort of looks like he is. He's just a hard horse to take on top because he never wins. I would be more interested in using him underneath, and I couldn't make him on top.
Trainer Jason Service, always dangerous. Let's talk about Fit Jelly, who's going to be a big price in this race. We haven't seen him since April when he was beaten by Pure Sensation. In that race, he kind of was down inside. I don't really think he ever got clear sailing. He was running at the end. He acquitted himself well. It was far and away the best performance of his career. I really don't worry about layoffs too much with Service. And this is another horse that a fast pace would set him up nicely.
He's got the right running style, so you sort of expect him to get a good trip in this race. I guess I just kind of wonder how good he is, Dan. He won his first start for Service when they decided he's a turf sprinter. That's fine. He's been third in all of his other. They went 7 furlongs with him. I don't really consider those true turf sprints. The other 3 times they sprinted him, or 4 times they sprinted him on turf. He was second all 4 times. I thought he ran fine all 4 times, but I didn't love his performances. I didn't really like him that much in here.
And here's a recent formulator fact for Service regarding the number 8, Vision Perfect. He's 8-1 on the morning line, and I think if he's 8-1, you probably got to lock that one in, Mike. Past 6 months with older horses in turf sprints going 45 to 60 days, 4 for 11, $2.56 ROI. This horse has been the favorite in his last 4. Popped a gigantic number 3 starts back. I mean, he was really good in that Janus Stakes at Gulfstream. What happened last time at Monmouth?
I mean, that's the question I guess you got to ask yourself if you want to take him in this race, because he just didn't run well. And watching the race back, it didn't really, there was no apparent excuse for him. He just didn't really run. I don't know what happened, Dan. What I do know is if he shows up with his best race, he is a handful in here. I don't understand how Fig Jelly, his stablemate, could be a shorter price than him on the morning line. He is a much better horse than Fig Jelly is. We'll see if he can turn it around.
He's also the defending champion in this race, and if he runs his best race, he is going to be very tough. Before we get to our picks, talk about a couple outsiders. The 5 is Long May You Run, a real nice animal. 16 of 53 lifetime. He's 8 years old, but he seems more like a dirt horse at this stage of his career and all throughout his career.
Yeah, he does. I mean, this trainer's done a real good job with him since he claimed him, though. He's just got him running one good race after another. It's all on dirt. They run him on turf twice in his career very early on. Listen, he didn't, look like a horse who couldn't handle the turf in those races. He seems like he's fine on it. It's just a question of, is he a graded stakes kind of horse on the turf? I don't know that he is.
Snow Day's just a cool horse. Just consider he was a group winner in 2012. And he won his most recent start back on May 18th off of a long layoff. I know it was only against $35,000 sellers, but give me a horse like this every time. Maybe not as a wagering proposition in this race, but only a couple of years ago, he was beaten less than 2 lengths by Disco Partner in the Belmont Turf Sprint.
Yeah, right. And he ran well over this turf course, too, in the Turf Monster when Pure Sensation only beat him a half length. So he had races on the go back that put him close in this race, but they're in 2017. In 2018, he wasn't quite that horse, and even though he won last time, it was 35 claimer. He's just got to find a way to turn it around to beat this field.
Fielder's the number 9 horse for course, 2 for 2 at Parx, and he's the rare stone closer in these turf sprints that often gets up. He should get a hot pace to rally into. Just not sure if he's this good.
Yeah, me either. Maybe he'll get the right side up in here, though. There's plenty of pace for him to be running that late.
Let's take a look at our top selections for this race. And I think the question handicappers have to ask themselves are, do you like the Pennsylvania Governor's Cup? And if you do so, well, then you're going to go with the Pure Sensation or the Completed Passes of the world. You and I like the race, but not so much that we want to put these horses on top. Let's talk about your top selection. You believe Vision Perfect's going to get back to his best form.
I just thought I would give him the chance to do it because I know that he's good enough to win if he can. I don't know what happened last time. It's a little bit concerning that he ran as poorly as he did, but he has bounced back from poor performances before. Service, sees fit to run him in this race, and it's a pretty major race for a horse like him. So I'm just going to assume that he's fine, Dan. I don't really expect him to be 8-1 when the gates open, but maybe he's a fair price in this race and he can beat Pure Sensation one more time.
I'm interested in your thoughts on the 10 Smokin' Nitros making his first start of the year. So automatically it's a tough spot. Plus he has an outside post outside of the other speeds. I just like the way he won at Laurel 2-back. And maybe it wasn't the greatest field in the world. I think Dubini's okay, but I just like the way he was able to coast to the lead. And he was just in command of that thing till about the 8th pole. And then once Suarez asked him for some run, he was able to lengthen away. I think 5.5 might even be a little far for him. He's cutting back. He's going to show fresh speed for Jamie Ness. I just wonder if maybe this is going to be too hot off the long layoff for him, but he's lightly raced. This is his first start as a 4-year-old. I'm expecting him to be a little bit better this year.
I agree with all those things. I just wonder if it's not too tough a spot off the left. And I also wonder what kind of trip can you get, Dan? I mean, he looks like a horse who needs the lead from post 10 with all that speed to his inside. I don't know if he can make it. When he made it at Laurel in that October race, I mean, they just conceded the lead to him in that day. That's not going to happen in this race. So I just wonder how he'll cope with stuff like that.
Give me numbers. You like Vision Perfect on top.
Yeah, I could just bet him to win if he's, around even half the price he is on the morning line. I just liked him and Pure Sensation. I went 8-7 in here, Dan. I didn't really like anybody else.
Going to go with a horse on the outside, the number 10 in this race, coming off a little bit of a layoff, Smokin' Nitro. Going to use that horse with the 2 coming out of the Pennsylvania Governor's Cup, Pure Sensation and Completed Pass. In the Grade 3 Parx Dash, the feature race at Parx on Saturday. Again, check out the offers for DRF Bets. You can learn all the details at bets.drf.com. Approximate post time for the Parx Dash is 4:09 Eastern. Best of luck.